I love that magazine. American Rifleman, one of the official publications of the great NRA, of which I am a proud member, have been for decades. I hope you are as well. I have risen to the level of patron member, and I'm proud of it. They do great work. Thank you, NRA. I'll get to the reason why the magazine's on the table here in just a second. Of course, you've seen the title. This will be my full review, tabletop review. All the shooting is done on the Taurus Millenium G2 TMP.
Millennium G2.
Thanks for subbing, for supporting the workload. It is a lot, but I am fast tracking a lot of gun reviews for you guys, trying to get as much information as I can out for you guys. I realize that most of the people who watch my reviews have already purchased the item. They're looking for confirmation of their buying decision de facto. The danger in that, of course, is I do not give gratuitous reviews. Whether I meet you in person or whatnot, you go, oh, dude, I got this gun. Can you review it? The review is a review, dude. So if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. We're going to have kind of a mixed bag with this gun. Give you a little advanced warning. It is what it is. And so if you really want to fall in line with the data here, wait. There's a lot of reviews out already. I have 1,750 videos out now. That's a body of work. More coming every week. I could post 5 a week, but I would overwhelm the audience. I don't. I have to trickle them out. Wait till the review, then buy it. That's what I'm saying. Bottom line. Taurus Millenium G2. I haven't reviewed a Taurus in many years here in the Nutnfancy project. For a couple reasons. I may mention them, maybe I won't. But I figured it's time. I actually started not reviewing, but studying, researching the Taurus Millenium way back in 2001. That's why this magazine is on the table, as proof positive of that fact. It's an American Rifleman, dated July 2001. NRA, of course. And here are my notes on the guns that they have in their dope bag section. They have the Millennium on page 72, Buckmark rifle. I was interested in that at the time. And a Gamo air pistol. Always researching, always reading. Let's flip to it, and we'll just glance super quick at what they had to say. If you want, you can pause and read it. I don't know if you want to do that. And this version, again, has been superseded by G2, Gen 2 of the Millennium. But I write right here, reliable, okay accuracy, better sights, super light, striker fired, well made. I summarize it for myself. I've been doing that, dude, since the 90s. That way, as I come up on a purchase or possible purchase, I can just flip through the magazines. This is before the internet was really huge. You got to understand that. And you'll see my underlined portions of the article. Up arrows mean it's good on the first gen. It's interesting to note on the first gen, it was 19 ounces lighter than the G2, 16 ounces with the proposed titanium slide. They were getting, I think, pretty mediocre accuracy, about 3.8 inches at 25 yards. Squiggly mark means it's not so great. But, I mean, 25 yards is at a realistic distance. I mean, I can shoot headshots with a PPK at 25, so maybe it is. Be interesting. Here's the next page right here. Squiggly marks here. I'm going to kind of apply, well, they're going over the same things I'm going to go over, of course, on the tabletop. And I may bounce back to Gen 1. I probably won't, because it's pretty much ancient history. All we really care about is G2. The interesting thing looking at the magazine is you see the up arrows, and you may ask yourself, did you ever go buy one? Good question. And the answer is I did not. I did not buy a Taurus. Way back then, I just couldn't do it. I know there's a lot of positive reviews, but there's something about it that I don't know, it just didn't warm up to. And I will say that's kind of the whole Taurus brand for me. Here comes the G2 right here. You'll see something that I'll mention very quickly. It's an oddity. If you're very astute, you see it already. I don't know. It's a brand that I just find that I'm not super excited about. One of the reasons is way back in the early 2000s, I had a revolver. It underperformed, I thought, markedly. It was very bad. I ended up selling it. It was inaccurate. It had reliability problems. I just didn't like it, and I pitched it. And super quick, I don't want this to be a diversion, but I had interacted with the Taurus folks in person, and I came away fairly unimpressed. I didn't I don't know. That was then. It's a long time ago, but I don't know. There just wasn't a good vibe. So with all the other great brands that I've reviewed, I just said, well, you know, I'll get around to them, maybe. Well, here we are in 2017. I am getting around to it. And they're going to get a fair tabletop, I'll tell you that much. There is no bias here at all. If it's the good things, I'm going to be very honest about, and the bad things I will be honest about as well. And we're going to kick off something right now, which is bad. Have you noticed the gun yet? What's wrong with it? Now, if you said the trigger safety blade is snapped off, give yourself a gold star. You are correct. And we're going to go out in the desert right now. The temperature was about, I forget, 8 or 9 degrees Fahrenheit when this happened. Here we go. Let's take it out to the desert. After having buried the Millennium G2 in the snow, it was frigid, and I start the shooting sequence. Let's see what happens and my reaction.
Oh, that is too funny. Look at that. It broke off. The freaking trigger blade broke off. So here you go, Millennium G2 by Taurus. Wow. That's funny. Now I'm trying to press that trigger.
There you go. The curse of the desert once again. Freaking trigger broke. I know. I was just laughing. Oh my gosh, this is so typical. Now, as you saw, and I can't remember the footage. I haven't reviewed it prior to the tabletop, but I think I was like a little bit perplexed at first exactly what happened. And I was really wondering, hey, can I continue the test? Is the gun out of action? And where it broke, the answer is no. It broke far enough down where I can still actuate the safety and fire the gun, and that's what you saw. And the testing thereafter was pretty much totally performed with the trigger blade broken. And you're right, it wasn't fun. It sucked. That's why you're not going to see a ton of shooting video on this G2, because it made shooting it difficult. It made shooting it for accuracy difficult, and it was not fun. So let's talk about that. It's the 1,000-pound gorilla in the China shop right now. Should that have broken? I did click around on the interweb, and there are other complaints about this having happened to some other users at low rounds counts with the Millennium G2. And my resounding answer is no. I am convinced that most companies, I shouldn't say most, but some companies just don't have a real testing protocol in effect. I mean, something that's really abusive to the pistols and all different temperature extremes. Because how is it that me, a part-time gun reviewer, reveals all these flaws in these systems? Most of them are not mentioned at all on the reviews. None. Including American Rifleman. I mean, on the G2, that didn't happen to them. Clicked around, and most of it is glowing reviews on the G2. It is what it is, though. I'm not going to come to the table and say, oh yeah, that's awesome. It's not awesome. This part should be totally redesigned. It should be, if they're going to use a polymer, make it thicker, make it stronger. I mean, dang, son. I've never had that problem with a Glock 26 or any Glock in the world. They have the same design. That's where they got the idea from. Come on now. Yeah, or better yet, make it of metal. You can still stick with your polymer trigger, but make the trigger blade of metal. A little helpful hint from TMP to you, Taurus. Please. Maybe we'll see a G3 come out, and then it will be a little bit better. So that has to be stacked in the heap that is the track record I shouldn't say heap. I'm just saying the data for the G2. The trigger or the safety lever broke on the trigger. There you go. It's obvious. I have to cover that right off the bat. Now this is the double stack version of the 709 Slim, which I have not reviewed yet. Maybe one day I might. It is what I consider to be probably a mid-sized 9mm pistol. Maybe some people would consider it a compact. I wouldn't say it's a subcompact. There are some others that would fall into that category, like the Glock 43. That's a subcompact 9mm to me. And there's a wide variety of pistols that Taurus does. Sometimes I think their selection is a bit bewildering. It's hard to keep up with it. It's a little bit overwhelming. They, as I've said in past tabletops, will introduce like different flavors in a year. Throw it against the wall and see what sticks. I think the Millennium, the PT-111 G2, as you can see, official name, has stuck. I think it's a very popular pistol. I think it has some great sides to it, some great attributes. And it has sold incredibly well for Taurus. It has. And this tabletop should not be construed as a condemnation of the gun at all. It's just, there's a couple downsides, but I think overall it's mostly good. Despite that, it's still mostly good. Philosophy of use. Carry pistol, yes. Home defense, totally. Thrasher pistol, gift pistol, because as we're going to hit several times, it's very affordable. In all the standard applications, philosophy of use. SAWC design and ergos. The weight is probably reasonable because it's a 12+1 rounds count, and 22 ounces is a reasonable weight for that amount of firepower. 22 ounces. There's others that will carry about the same rounds, and they're heavier, like that Glock 26, so they're heavier than this, and I love those guns. So I'd say the weight is actually in the ballpark totally. I like the milling of the slide. There's some scallops right here. The serrations are perfect for grasping. Very positive. It's a good looking gun, I think. It looks very business-like. The sights are excellent on this PT-111 G2. They're fully adjustable at the rear for both windage and elevation. On a carry pistol, A+ for Taurus, that's pretty cool. Polymer sights, but so are Glocks. Who cares? Works great. Loaded chamber indicator right here. Reversible magazine catch here. It's kind of small, but for a carry pistol, that's kind of what you want, I think, for most people. Accessory rail at the front. The decent trigger guard. Let's just compare it against the G26 coming out of system right now. A little bit larger than the Glock 26, so it's kind of flared out there at the bottom, which would be good for gloves. And I've always said in Glocks, my trigger finger will rub inside the trigger guard. Whoop-de-doo. Little undercut right here on the polymer frame. Excellent stippling on the G2 here. Almost laser stippled on this portion, and I'm so glad they didn't put it up here where our thumb rests, because it'll just abrade your thumb. I love the stippling on it. I've seen some custom jobs done by folks that they'll, you've seen those. You can do it with a G2, any polymer frame handgun you can do it with. Look at the mag well here. The seating of the magazine is nice, no pinching factor going on here. And you've got kind of a finger rest here. So it's a 3-finger affair, which I think is more than adequate. I've been saying that since 2008. Let's go back to the trigger. Busted trigger blade notwithstanding, this is something that I do not like on the G2, and you will see me kind of complain about it in shooting inset footage, maybe. I mean, I'm talking to myself or you guys the whole time. I don't like how far that trigger pulls to the rear. In fact, it is so bad, I'm out in the desert and I'm thinking, well, is the safety on? I'm like, why is this pulling so hard? And I'm like, pull, 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 and it's a very hard trigger pull. And I'm not exaggerating. Since I have a busted trigger blade here, I can't put the trigger scale on it, but I would say probably 9 to 10 pounds. It does have second strike capability. Some people say that's totally awesome. I say it's pretty much unnecessary. If it doesn't fire, you need a tap rack bang. Tap rack assess bang. Do that, It's nice to have them. It doesn't cost you anything to have it, but whatever. The trigger though is bad. I don't like it. Here's a reset. Nice short reset. Now, to be fair, the XDM series pulls very rearward for me. It's always been a criticism I've had of the XDM series, but I deal with it because the trigger, the brake, the release, the reset on that series of pistol is very clean, and I don't, in my estimation, think it pulls as far rearward as this one. If you guys own a G2, I mean, are you happy with how that pulls? It's back there, dudes. It's back there. You can kind of see it has a double action to it. So it's a striker fired pistol, but it does have kind of a double action second strike capability like I've tried to represent. So here's your slide release lever right here. It's clean. It's unobtrusive. The width, when you look at the G2, this is actually a good thing. You think it's a pretty chunky pistol, right? It's actually a little bit thinner than a Glock 26. I measure it to be about 29 millimeters from the controls to the end, the width of the slide. That's not bad. That's pretty good. It does have a safety on it, but it's pretty unobtrusive. Right here. I don't like having a safety, but there's other guns that I've raved about that also have them, and I just say ignore them. And you can do it with here, with the G2. Probably put on there as a nod to certain locales that require it for sales within that state. Other things that we can talk about here. How about the feel in hand? Because I do talk about ergos. I think it feels excellent, actually. Not the trigger, though. I wish the trigger really broke mid-trigger guard right here. Because I just feel like I could have more control. When I'm coming back here, and this is interesting. This is why I don't like it. Because we're maintaining our sight picture during the firing sequence, right? The further you have to pull your trigger back, the more possibility you have of doing this. Dropping your sight picture and throwing around. Travel, 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 travel. Where's the break? Where's the break? And lo and behold, we've come off target. We break and we missed a shot. That's why I don't like a rearward trigger. Boom. I laid it out there. I've never heard anyone else say that, but that's my opinion. I just don't break mid up here. And we're going to look at some options that do exactly that or pretty close to it. SAWC design and ergos. It does have a Taurus security system. They call it TSS, a proprietary thing. It's just a key you can lock the gun up with. I say train your children. That would be better. Train your children so they know how to handle guns. I have a whole series of videos out there, Children of the Gun, parts 1 and 2. It tells you how to do exactly that. If they're trained, really locking up a firearm is not really necessary. That's right, I said it. Because they're trained. There's knives in your kitchen drawer. Right? Are they going and cutting their fingers all the time with the knives? Are they sticking their fingers in electrical sockets in your house? No, you've trained them with that. Guns are no different. Rant totally complete. Let's go to firepower. It's going to get an A for this. 12 plus 1, like I said. 2 magazines included. And they are nice magazines, just like the gun made in Brazil, as you can see. Polymer floor plate. I didn't drop them on concrete to see if they'd bust on you. The finish on these looks like Mekar. Just a really nice finish. The weld is clean. They are extremely hard to load, though. I recommend a loading tool. We are cursing it out there. I mean, God, we're loading it. We're like, daggum, these suck. I don't know what it is. So that's a significant downside, actually, to the mags. I just don't think it should be that difficult to load. One thing I want to cover, too, is since this does, I'm not going to take it down, but it does have a double captive recoil spring, just like the G26 Glock series. You might, if it's going to go into the purse or a carry system of your female friend, woman, girlfriend, wife, mom, whatever, you might want to make sure she can rack the slide easily and that it's doable for her. Sometimes the double captives are not so much. On to, I guess, track record next. Now, I did talk about the trigger, so that box has been checked. But other than that, there were no jams, no stoppages at all. And we're talking in very cold shooting conditions. I've been showing it to you. Kudos to Taurus Millenium G2. That's pretty good, because I had some guns on the same outing that did not do so great. Watch those tabletop reviews, but the G2 did well. I don't remember any stoppages at all. There was actually one last shot hold open failure, but I've seen that with a multiple of firearms. So I'm going to give it a really good reliability record as far as shooting, trigger notwithstanding. And speaking of which, I did read somewhere a dude said it's built for a lifetime of shooting. Yeah, as long as the trigger lasts. I'll throw that in there. Accuracy. I thought my accuracy that I achieved with it was pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. I wouldn't say it was amazing. It's not, for me, it wasn't a one-hole pistol. You can see the distance I shot it at. It did pretty good, though. I mean, I would say it probably matched what AR was saying. About the same thing. So if I extrapolated that distance with my shooting capabilities, I would probably, with the G2, be getting 3-inch groups as well, if I'm doing everything right. So I would say the accuracy is good. The G2 over the Gen 1 is, I think, a little bit more accurate of a pistol from my study. Field strip, like I said, not going to go over it. You can look it up online, but I like making these videos a little bit shorter. And by the way, this is a sick watch. It's a Casio for the review. I want to say it's a PRW 6100 JDM only version. Not cheap, because it was marketed only in Japan and I had to import it. I'll put a link if I can find it. One of my all-time favorite Casios. Oh, love that watch. It just gets me excited. The G2, however, does not. It doesn't. It's a good pistol. Let me say, if this trigger, the trigger lever had not busted, I would probably be saying about the same thing. I still like the pistol. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't imbue my trust, especially after this. That's just me. That's kind of a subjective thing. Because the ones I'm going to show you in competitive options, actually right now, do that for me. The one thing we have to represent fairly on the G2 is that it does have 12+1 rounds and it's only 22 ounces. And it's super affordable. I mean, we're talking, I don't even throw a price out there because it varies so much, but we're talking cheap. You go to your local gun store, and by the way, thanks to the gun store at the top who loaned me this one for review, he said it's one of his all-time best sellers. It sells every week. They're flying out the door. Why? Because, you know, good capacity magazine, lifetime service policy on the gun. I'm going to pause there for a second because there have been complaints, and a lot of them, about Taurus's so-called lifetime service policy, where they're asking for money, they're giving guys questions and hassles before they fulfill it. So, I got to throw that out there. Is it no questions asked? Hey, we send it to you. Maybe you might have some issues with it. I don't know. A lot of guns have a lifetime service policy. Smith & Wesson comes to mind. Speaking of which, I don't have it on the table. That's a great competitive option. The Smith & Wesson Shield. That is a subcompact pistol, to be sure. Less rounds, though. The Glock 26, though, is going to be heavier. It is the same thickness, maybe just slightly thicker than the Millennium PT11 G2. But as you can see, this is a daily carried pistol system for me. Has been since the mid-90s. I just love the Glock 26, G27. They're just so excellent. This is a gun I have no doubts whatsoever that it will function when I need it to function. It'll shoot through snow, wet, mud, driven over by a freaking tractor trailer. Don't care. Never going to have a breakage on it. That's kind of what I'm talking about. You know, had this been out the whole time and I heard nothing but rave, no breakages, then maybe. Track record just takes time. It really, really does. Between these guns, you know, which one would I carry? Well, I just answered it. But you got to understand, if money's tight, this is a lot more expensive than a G2. I mean, a lot more. Unless you get a used one. Good luck on that, because I don't think people ever get rid of their G26s. If they do, they shouldn't. Such a great gun, man. A couple other competitive options. We could be here all day. Coming up for review soon is a very stellar, I would call it a compact, not subcompact, less rounds than the G2, but man is this excellent, the Walther CCP. About the same weight as a G2, a little bit thinner I believe, but less rounds of course. What is this, 8+1 I think on the CCP, but much more accurate in my shooting. Very reliable, even though it has a different gas system, the Walther CCP. It's more ergonomic. It has, I think, a superb trigger on it. Just amazing. Excellent sights. It seems more narrow in profile, easier carried. You're going to give up some rounds, though, and you're probably going to spend a little bit more money. The CCP, though, is Hall of Fame all day long. And I'm surprised, actually. When I said that in the review, I was like, I can't believe how much I like the CCP. Because usually if I'm going to carry 22 ounces, this is interesting too. Either I'm going to upgrade to a Glock 26, and by the way, I'm talking a concealed carry philosophy of use, I'm going to go Glock 26. I'll go full size. G19, G17, P226, or freaking a Glock 20 10mm. And yes, I do that all the time. Check this out. This is a really unusual competitive option, and man, do I love it. This is a Hall of Fame, and unless you, I don't know what order I'll post reviews, but this one's coming up soon. It is complete, and man, does this gun rule. The Springfield XD45 subcompact. Yeah, you didn't see that coming, did you? 45 ACP. So I have several carry loads. One of them is a 230 grain high shock by Federal. Another one is a 200 grain XTP plus P. Damn, that thing hits hard. And look at the size difference between these. You would say, oh, that XD45 subcompact's a big gun. It is a little bit bigger, but not that much. And it's a 45 ACP. Now, it's a 9+1 rounds configuration, which is superb for a subcompact 45, but it's not that much bigger, and you just get such a harder hitting caliber, a deadlier caliber. Look at that. The height is about the same, just a little bit difference in length. And the width on the XD45 subcompact is exactly 30 mils or 1.18 inches, if I'm not mistaken. Same as a Glock, which is kind of a reference. I mean, anything thicker than a Glock, I want to kind of go, depending on what it gives. If it gives me like a ton of firepower, then really hard hitting, then yeah, it's fine. I'll take it. But all day long, dude, this thing rules. A couple more. How about the Walther PPS? The original one. Now, this is super thin. It's super accurate. I mean, this is basically a sniper's pistol in the subcompact or the pocket pistol 9mm shootout. I mean, I'm making hits at 50 yards with this thing. Could I do that with a G2? Probably. I'm not going to say that this is, it's the only gun that can do that. No, I'm not saying that. But for me, the way it interfaces with me personally, the PPS series, both, I call them Gen 1, Gen 2, it's just amazing. I don't mind the magazine release on this one at all. This is a 7-round magazine in there, so we've got a total of 8 rounds. You're giving up rounds, and it's basically the same size. But you talk about a trigger, oh my gosh. I was going to mention a couple triggers and how they break. So here's the XDS trigger. Look at that. See what I'm saying? So it's breaking about mid-guard. Here's the reset on it. And I bought this one used, dudes. I didn't even buy it new. I wouldn't say it's like the lightest trigger ever, but man, does it break clean. Audible reset. And last but not least, and these are just a couple ones, but again, they're a little bit out of category because they're single stack 9mm, the Ruger LC9S. Love the LC9S. I have a review on it and I raved about it. It's basically a 5-star pistol. It's very accurate, very reliable. This is in a Barai Kydex pocket holster, and it's coming out of active carry, so it's hot. I wish I had a square trigger guard, and that's about all I can say bad about the Ruger LC9S. Yeah, we're going to be down rounds, but you might want to just visit, you know, do you really need 12? I like more rounds. I've always said that, but how often are you going to be shooting the gun? Rarely. You're going to be carrying it a lot. I'm going to end with this, so because we got to wrap it up for time. I got some other gun reviews I got to get to. I actually like the Taurus Millenium G2. I really do. And I don't want you to come away from this review going, oh, he hates the gun. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think I've represented the good things of it. The firepower is excellent. The value is amazing. Looks are great. The ergonomics, as far as it feels in hand, very good. I like the sights. It's a great 3-dot pattern. The value, again, is amazing. I keep saying that because it is. 12 rounds and you get 2 magazines. Awesome. A lifetime service policy. Yeah, that's cool. Squared off trigger guard, accessory rail. Low profile controls and reversible mag catch. Great stippling. So those are some great things. Yeah, the trigger blade busted. I could send it off if this was my gun, get it repaired. And these are the negative things. In the back of my mind though, I'm going, well, what if? So if it broke on me one time, what if I'm in another cold day and it breaks again? And this time when it breaks higher up, so it puts the gun out of service and I can't disengage this trigger safety. You feel me? That's what I'm saying, is that that's a nagging concern I have. I don't like the trigger, how it pulls. It pulls way too rearward for me. I don't like the stiff loading magazines and the thumb safety. So those are the negative things. You have to decide. which one's best for you. I'm done.